If anyone is listening and you can hear and we're not having technical difficulties, I'm Lee. Shelby's going to check on some things. But I wanted to do a quick little mental health PSA because I know I just saw something when doom scrolling before I came in for the show. After doing an assignment for my psychology class. Actually, it's not a psychology class. It's a communications class, but that's not the point. I saw something that really bothered me, and I know politics can get really hard lately, and I do think we should stay educated and educate ourselves, but I also think we should protect ourselves and our hearts. So I hope that you're all doing well and, checking in on yourselves every now and then. Put down the phone sometimes. Like I said, stay educated. Find your news sources where you need, but also put your phone down every now and then when it gets a little too overwhelming. Surround yourself with people who love you and care about you and make things fun. That's our little mental health PSA. I will say I'm not hearing anything anymore.
Really?
So,
you know what? Maybe we just had to wait for the song to end.
maybe. I mean, it wasn't loud for us, so it might not have been loud for other people.
Hey, you know what? Maybe it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, how do we want to do this? I kind of want to keep in the little part with your little mental health PSA.
Yeah.
So maybe we can just start from there.
Maybe we can just start from there.
And then we can be like, my brain broke.
Yeah. How are you doing, Shelby?
I'm doing pretty okay.
That's good.
Doing pretty okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Well, apologies for the technical difficulties, but I think our running plan is to just roll with it.
Yeah. That's what we normally do.
Yeah, I mean, because I'd usually be like, oh, we can redo the intro and stuff, and they can just cut to there. But I want to keep your little mental health PSA in.
Yeah.
I think that was really nice. So I guess we'll just repeat it, and I'll leave a little note in the email, being like, don't cut out the part with Lee's little mental health PSA. But anyway, if you're just tuning in, this is Peculiar Happenings. I'm Shelby.
And I'm Lee.
And this is our show about stranger things and weird things. Although, if you're listening at this point, I'm assuming you're doing it intentionally.
Yeah.
And you kind of know what our deal is.
Yeah. Unless you're new.
Unless you're new, in which case, how did you find this? Welcome.
Welcome. If you're listening and randomly stumbled upon this channel by some mysterious ways, that fits right into what our topics always are. Always a little mysterious, a little weird, a little funky.
I feel like I'm more
so
inclined
that's
to
fun.
say we'd get random listeners during Radiothon, because that's on the actual radio waves.
Yes.
Actual radio waves. Someone's like tuning in their little car radio, and then boom,
Exactly.
we're in there with you. I'm directly in the passenger seat. Can you pull off the next rest stop? I gotta go to the bathroom.
Literally, like, guys, I gotta go. Like, we need to stop. How are we almost there?
I need a sweet little treat.
Are we
Can
getting
I
there?
get a sweet little treat? We should do this bit during the actual radiothon, because
should,
there is
like,
a
hey.
non-zero chance that someone is actually in their car listening to us.
I would love that. I know
We
my
should
professor randomly
absolutely
stumbled
do
upon
that.
us one day.
Which one?
It was Michael Sheehan.
Oh,
and he was like,
wow.
oh, like, I heard you guys talking about a random Stranger Things ships. And I was like,
That's really funny.
Because we were doing the quiz on Stranger Things.
Oh my
stuff
God. Our
and
first
lore.
radiothon.
Our first radiothon. And one of the questions was about what is this, like, ship's name? Like, who are the people on this ship? And we knew it. We were right.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
We're so smart.
He had no idea that Joyce and Hopper had a fling. And
Really?
I was like, that's
Is
like
he
a
caught
major,
up?
Literally, that's a major plot
Did
point
you
in the
watch
series.
season
Even
3?
season 1, there's tension. Like, guys, come on. Read the lines.
Read the room. Anyway, happy episode 20, Lee.
Happy episode 20.
I almost said we've made it to double digits. That's not correct.
That's not true.
That's just not correct.
We've
been at double
at least
digits.
10 into those.
We've been at least 10 into the double digits. You know, that's kind of crazy. This podcast, there's as many podcast episodes now as there are for years I've been alive. Wow.
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 Big strides.
I wonder how high we can get the number before we graduate.
Yeah, probably at least 40.
I'm thinking at least 30 or 40. I think we can
Yeah.
get. We at least got another solid 10.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know?
for sure.
At least.
At least 30. That's the goal for next
least.
year.
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. So, what are we going to talk about today? What's today's episode, Lee?
We're going to talk about some fun things. Have you ever been bored and decided, I want to read something, and found yourself stumbling upon random weird stories that fans have written about your favorite characters?
I've seen too much.
Seen too much. I've seen too much.
In doing the research for this episode, I've seen
Much too
there's
much.
Listen, I use this term sparingly and oftentimes in a positive light, but there's some real sickos on AO3. Lee.
Oh, there really are.
There's some real weirdos out there. Which, hey, you know what? Freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech.
Do it while you still can, folks.
Yep.
Just kidding. I'm sorry. That was a
Oh,
bad
that's something
joke.
Michelle would say.
Bad joke. That's something
Oh.
some of my professors have been saying, and I'm
Yeah.
like, preach. But
Yep.
on a lighter note, I have never actually read a fan fiction on my own time.
Ever?
I have never read a fan fiction.
Never read one on your own.
And that is our topic today. We're going to be reading Stranger Things specific fan fictions.
Yeah.
All that Shelby found.
Yes, I have a couple on here. I'll say there's some that are better than others. There's some that I'll place them into a couple different categories, and I'll probably let you know which one they are before we start reading them. There's some that have kind of an interesting premise. But I'm assuming it was just more of a younger writer writing them, so it's not executed as well as it could have been. There's some that are really weird and funny and bad on purpose. And then there's at least one, and I've told you about this one because I give you little spoilers so you know what we're getting into.
Yes.
There's one that I actually found that was really quite entertaining that was basically, what if Robin and Steve are like, they've moved into an apartment together, they're in the city trying to make it, and they have a side gig monster hunting that they just stumble into.
I love it so much because
really funny.
we have talked about this. I would love to see a Stranger Things spinoff that is like comedy and less horror based, of like almost like Supernatural, but
I
like
know what you
I feel
mean.
like where it's
more
like a
hijinks.
more hijinks, more a little
hijinks-esque.
upbeat, kind of Scooby-Doo-esque of Robin and Steve, and maybe some Dustin coming in every now and then.
A little dusty cameo.
A little dusty.
They can like, if
sprinkled
it'll be like the 90s by that point, so they can like Skype him or whatever they did.
Literally. And I would love to see that, but it's sad that they have said there will be no spin-offs, and I'm like, come on, guys.
Which, as much as I would love a spin-off, I think it makes sense. I'd rather them, end it where they wanted to end it than beat it to death for profit, which is what's happened with so many. That's what happened with Supernatural.
shows.
They should have stopped that at like season 5.
They should have. And I think, it's good for them, especially in considering that idea that we thought would be good. Joe Keery and Maya Hawke have both gone on to do music now.
Yes.
And they are on tour. I know Joe just released new music. So good for them.
Yes.
If you're
Logan
listening,
actually really likes his music.
I know. I've been meaning to listen to some of his stuff.
It's quite good, because I'm sure you've heard some of his songs. Whoa, the mic stand keeps... Hello? I'm trying to prop it up at a comfortable height, but it keeps falling. Why you
Maybe
do
take
that?
Take
the
headphones
headphones
down.
off. Anyway, I'm sure you've heard at least one of the songs, because he's got the one song that's like... I'm pretty sure that's usually the end of the beginning or something.
Yes. No,
it goes exactly like that.
I love him, so I think I would love his music. But good for them. And if they're listening, we love you.
Oh my God!
Oh
Yeah,
my
Joe
God.
Keery, our good personal friend, and Maya Hawke are also good personal friend.
Literally,
are personally
the
tuning
people
in.
we strive to be.
Personally tuning in. Oh my God, that's so fun. Can you even imagine a circumstance where literally anyone on the cast or crew would be listening to our little podcast?
I think that would be so funny.
I don't even know how that would happen.
I
Maybe
have
we
no
should
idea.
email them.
We should email them. Oh my gosh.
What do you think would happen if we
DM Joe Keery and Maya Hawke on Instagram?
Be like, hey, we have a podcast about Stranger Things. You want to come on for a guest episode?
You want to come on? Forget they travel to SUNY Fredonia. Of
that
all
would be
places.
actually really funny.
I'd cry.
That
I
would be
cry.
really funny.
I will say Joe Keery has been very active on Instagram recently, and he's been posting a lot of photos of like, oh my gosh, it's Instagram. They heard us. They're messing. No, just kidding. It's Michelle.
Oh my God.
It's Michelle. Shout out to our friend Michelle.
What's that? 7 notifications from Maya Hawke. Whoa. On my phone.
Like, oh my gosh.
Goodness me.
Our Lord and Savior, Maya Hawke.
I think you should text him on Instagram just because I think it'd be super funny.
I think it would be. We'll do
maybe
that tonight.
hey,
While we watch a movie, we'll be messaging
You know how they do press tours for the new season stuff? Maybe we can get on that with our gargantuan listener
our 3
base.
listeners.
No, we have at least 40,000.
At least 40,000, obviously.
40,000.
No, they're great. I've been watching a lot of Joe Keery's stuff on Instagram just because he has been active, and he's never been very active before. And he's been doing a lot of posts on the music he's making. He's done some of, he did a few pictures of him and Maya during filming, but behind the scenes, so they weren't in costume.
Yeah, so there's no spoilers.
Because they were all living together at the same time.
Wow, really?
Well, a lot of them were kind of living.
I think that makes
I
sense.
know Finn Wolfhard said he was living alone, but he was they were all in the same area, so they all kind of saw each other all the time.
Okay, nice.
And there's a lot of behind the scenes photos of them getting coffee at cafes around where they were filming.
Nice. Can you imagine living in because they do a lot of the filming in one place in Georgia. Can you imagine you working at a Georgia coffee shop and the entire cast of Stranger Things just walks in and you're
hey.
Hey.
I feel like that'd be normal to them at some point, though.
At some point,
to
the
people
star,
in the town,
the star power would wear off.
Yeah, they'd be like, oh, whatever. Angela said something to me, and this is off topic, and then we can get on topic.
Hey,
but
that's the show. This is the off-topic show. That's
was
sometimes about Stranger Things and other
literally,
stuff.
literally, I was talking about Smosh because I had a funny dream that I was
Yes, you
telling
told me about this. I heard about this earlier.
to our friend Monty about. Monty from one of my classes. I would say Monty and I are friends. Shout out Monty, who's definitely
Shout
not
out to
listening, but
Monty.
shout out Monty. But we were, I was talking to them about my dream and how Shane Top from Smosh was in it. And I was talking about how in the dream I was super jealous that like Monty and Shane were super close. And I remember then waking up being like, I'm a lesbian. Why would I be jealous of this? Like, I don't even like Shane Top that way. I just think he's really funny and I love Smosh. And Angelo goes, Lee, you realize that if you met any of these people in real life, they would probably say, hi, nice to meet you, and then walk away and never care about your existence again. And I was like, thanks, Angelo.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. It's funny, though, because my dream is to work for Smosh as, like, a media, like,
That'd
person,
be so fun.
and, like, writing and stuff. I doubt that would ever happen.
Yeah, you
They
never
don't
know.
advertise that they're hiring ever because they're pretty, like,
Locked
quiet
in.
about that because, a lot of fans message them on Instagram being like, can you hire me at Smosh? And that's just not how it works. And
Yeah.
I get that. But it was just funny related to that. Like, oh, you're in this town. The entire cast of Stranger Things walks in like, oh, my God. And then they literally just are like, hi, nice to meet
Yeah,
you. Walks
that's
away,
real.
doesn't think about you again.
Yeah, that is probably what the experience should be.
But, it's okay. It means a lot to the fans. And then there are some people out there who genuinely do care and who are great.
Yeah, and I mean honestly, I couldn't even blame him because if I was in a position wherever I go, people would be like, "Oh my God, freaking out!" I'd be over it.
Yeah.
I've thought about if I was ever in a scenario where I ever got super famous for some reason, I would actively take so many steps to ensure that I look completely different in
Yeah.
front of like a public audience versus than I do in my personal life,
I made that
just
joke.
so no one can recognize me because I want to
Yeah.
be left alone.
Exactly.
I wanna be left alone.
I made that joke when I went back home. And my sister asked me to pick her up from school one day, or it was like after school. She was after practice. She was just kind of around. And I was like, okay, I'll come get you. But I hadn't really like gotten ready that day. I was like, just gotten home, I think, after like my first summer home. So it had been a while since I'd been there for an extended period of time other than that winter break. So I put on a pair of shorts, an oversized sweatshirt, sunglasses, and put my hair pulled back really tight in a hat, and then sandals. And I was like in my incognito
Like, I'm
is what I
incognito.
called it. And I posted
Incognito.
a picture of me in this outfit being like incognito practicing for when I'm famous one day. It's a joke.
I
Because
love
I didn't
that.
want anyone to recognize me from school. So I was
Me
trying
neither.
to look different.
I wouldn't either.
It had been a year. I doubt anyone cared. But, it's that weird in between where you're going home and you don't want
Yeah.
to see people from high school that you haven't seen.
I absolutely I understand that.
But yeah,
I really understand that. I'm gonna yawn.
that's okay. But shout out to Joe Curie and the entire cast of Stranger Things. We love you.
Our close personal friends, and actually, we have a surprise in the studio today. Just imagine the door opening and applause. Woo!
Welcome, Joe Curie, our
guys, it's me.
amazingly close friend
It's me,
that
Joe
definitely
Curie.
knows we exist.
It's me, Joe Curie.
It's me,
Anyway.
Joe Curie.
It's me, Joe.
I'm here
Joe
to
Curie,
listen
also
to
known
you
as Joe.
read Stranger
listen-
Things fan fictions about me and my dear friend Maya Hawk.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you. I also have a What We Do in the Shadows crossover fan fiction that's really,
Yes.
really funny.
Okay.
It might be a little difficult to read on air though, because there's a lot of swears.
Okay.
But I could do
We'll
it.
figure it out.
So I'm gonna read these captions to you, and you're gonna decide what we're gonna start with. We got What We Do in the Shadows crossover, feminist Steve Harrington,
Okay.
weed brownie, and then monster hunting. Actually good.
Oh, I'm trying to think. Should we end on something funnier? Or should we end on something good?
I feel like we should save monster hunting for last.
Okay.
Because there's several chapters of it, and it's quite lengthy, but it's all really good.
Let's do the feminist Steve one, because I'm really excited about that.
I'm so glad you said that.
I'm really excited for feminist Steve.
It's gonna be really funny. I'm gonna yawn again. Goodness.
I'm going to take my headphones off, too, because I never hear anything through them.
There's no sound in them. It's it's getting warmer out. It's warm in here. I forget
Yeah.
how warm it is in here.
Well, it's all padded in, the whole room.
Because we started this up again in the middle of January when it's
Yeah.
really cold. I forgot how warm it was when we were doing this, like the first semester, the middle of August,
Oh, yeah.
and it was
It's going to be like that this
it's
new
gonna be
the
like that.
fall semester. But
And
it's
now
okay.
I'm waiting for my phone that currently doesn't really have a signal to load the fanfiction.
So valid. So
I mean, worst
valid.
comes to worst, I can always pull up my laptop because my laptop
Yeah.
should have a Wi-Fi leash. So I'll give it a little more. Let's give
Yeah.
it a little more. Anyway, I think so. This one, I'll tell you a little bit about this one because there's not a lot of it. It's actually kind of a cool concept. I won't tell you too much. It's just that it's a modern setting. It's a lot of the characters from Stranger Things, but they're like supernatural creatures.
Oh,
kind of living incognito among people, and I don't think it's a bad concept. It's definitely giving someone's like first thing they tried to write in like middle school or high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that definitely shows, but I still think it's funny. I mainly chose it because well, you're going to see, I've told you this, feminist Steve Harrington. There's a lot of emphasis on the fact that Steve Harrington is a feminist.
As he should be.
And the author needs you to know that he's a feminist. And it's loaded. I have to check the content policies. So I'm gonna read off some of the tags and the actually I need to go back to the first chapter. This is No Love Like Your Love from Nobody by Call Me Bean 110683 on AO3. And the summary is just my take on the Vampire Eddie / Werewolf Steve trend. And the tags, you've got Steve Harrington's parents, which I'm pretty sure are their original characters they made up because we don't know anything about his parents.
Yeah.
You've got Chrissy, it's alternate universe, fantasy, modern era. I just realized one of the tags is feminist themes, which is really funny. Oh, this is recent. This came out like this month.
Really? Oh my gosh. Oh
it
my
was
goodness, I'm even more excited.
Published. I'm trying to make sure I'm reading this right. April 7th of this year. I thought
that's less than a month.
Yeah, okay. So
that's about when we started looking for these.
Gosh, yeah. So I'm just going to read it off. According to folklore, werewolves are bloodthirsty, half-man, half-wolf creatures that can only take their true form during the full moon. These freaks of nature get a thrill from hunting other animals, especially humans, and can only be killed with silver. Somewhere along the way, people also got the idea that werewolves hate vampires, a stereotype perpetuated by the 2008 film Twilight. Well, folklore gets a lot wrong. The truth of the matter is werewolf is an outdated term that most lycans take offense to these days. Sure, some of them can transform into wolves, but that all depends on the lycan. Any canine is fair game for a lycan's alternate form. So I think it's saying you can turn into any canine animals, so like coyotes, dogs.
Oh, I love that.
Plus, unlike the media's portrayal of werewolves, lycans can shift between forms whenever they want to. The full moon is just when their power is at its peak, hence why it's traditionally the night of the hunt. When they do hunt, their targets are usually small animals and the occasional deer, but never humans. Silver has known effect on lycans as well. And as for the vampire thing, don't be silly. Everyone knows that vampires died out early into the 20th century. Even lycans are few and far between as of late. Centuries of being hunted for sport will do that to species, but the packs that have persisted take measures to blend in with the human population. Take, for example, the pack in Hawkins, Indiana. At a glance, nobody would suspect anything out of the ordinary about them. Just 4 relatively normal families who live in a cul-de-sac. Well, that's the thing about humans. They believe what they want to.
Can I guess who the family is? Is it the Harringtons?
One of them is. It's actually several families. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
We'll get into it. So, something about the way some of these are written, some of the words people use sometimes, it like lends itself to like, that might be ChatGPT generated. I don't think this one is specifically because of the writing style. But it's just a lot of the times it's matter of fact, where it's like sort of rattling off facts. And it's like essentially this means I'm like, oh,
yeah,
that reads that to me. But let's move on to the next paragraph. This is where it's gonna get fun. Every month on the day of the full moon, the adult males of the Hawkins pack meet to discuss anything pertaining to the coming night's hunt or any imminent threats to the pack. It's always just the males. In lycan culture, the females have no power or status in their own right. Which
this isn't feminist.
This isn't
not
feminist.
feminist.
The highest position a female lycan can hold in her pack is the mate of the alpha. Which this is just
the Luna.
This is also just not how. This is also just not how wolves work in the wild.
No, literally. Also, sorry. The Luna, for context, is there's these really cheesy those movies are like the vertical movies.
Yes, like they made for TikTok.
Yes,
oh,
and
God.
I've been watching one that keeps popping up because I think it's so fascinating about how badly these are acted out. But there's one about the Luna.
There's a Ted Nivison video.
Yes, I watched it and it's so
I've also
good.
watched it.
It's so good.
It's really funny. So let's. We were just talking about how women don't have any power. Steve, as in Steve Harrington, who's only 26 and not considered an adult in lycan traditions, was not required to be in attendance, but his father, the alpha, had insisted he come to them in the hunts as early as 13 in order to prepare for his future role. That is a long sentence. Here we go. Having majored in women's studies at Indiana State and being an outspoken feminist, Steve had many objections to the entrenchment of misogyny in his people's culture. Hence why he always showed up to the meetings late. If he had it his way, he wouldn't come at all, but he knew his father would give him grief if he did that. Come to think of it, he'd probably find a reason to give him grief either way. Aylin, Harrington. That's the dad's name, by the way. Aylin Harrington had a
Aylin.
knack for finding things to criticize
Alan?
about his son.
Is it Aylin or Alan?
Aylen.
Oh,
I think it's Aylin. It might
Yeah,
be Alan,
Aylin.
but just pronounced weird.
I would say Aylin.
The more I read this out loud, the more I'm like, some of this phrasing is really odd.
That's true.
I'm not
That's
sure if
valid.
a person wrote it. Late again, he said as Steve made his way in. How unusual. How are you going to lead this pack if you're consistently late to everything? As the only son of the Alpha, it was expected that Steve would inherit the role that Aylin was no longer willing or able to... Once he was no longer willing or able to carry out his duties. Being the Alpha had no appeal to Steve, but his father insisted that it was tradition that the title be passed down through the family. Steve had no idea why tradition meant so much to him. All it was peer pressure from dead people. Sorry, the next sentence is, this is what I've been saying, said Billy Hargrove, the pack member closest in age to Steve, who'd come of age not too long ago. But I read closest as closet, and I thought he was making a joke about him being in the closet. And I was like, what? I don't remember that.
That's amazing.
He'd had it out for him as long as Steve could remember. Steve had no idea why. As far as he knew, he hadn't done anything during Billy's dislike. This is either like AI generated or some middle schoolers fan fiction. Steve here is an alpha material. He's too soft. Don't act like we can't smell all the skincare products on you, pretty boy. Hello?
The tea.
Maybe he is in the closet.
Maybe he
That's
is.
a little crazy. Steve was now used to comments like these from Billy, and now had learned to not let them get under his skin. The fact that he had a problem with him said more about Billy than it did about Steve.
Preach.
Taking care of myself doesn't make me soft, Billy. I'm just comfortable in my masculinity.
The voice.
And just so you know, when you call me pretty boy, I'm choosing to take that as a compliment. So thank you, Billy. I am a fat pretty, and I appreciate you acknowledging that.
Steve Harrington for the win.
Whatever, Billy retorted with an eye roll. Anyway, since the world doesn't revolve around you, we started the meeting on time, and you missed your daddy saying you're going to be leading tonight's hunt. Steve cursed, earning him a disapproving look from his father. I totally forgot the hunt was tonight. I'm going to have to miss it. I made plans with a friend after work. Cancel them, Alan said. Your duties as future pack leader supersede any silly plans with friends. I can't just bail on Robin like that, Father. It wasn't just Robin
be
who
a
Steve...
real boy, father.
When can I go... Father, when can I go out on my own? There's a whole world out there. It wasn't just Robin who Steve was concerned about bailing on. Their plans for that evening involved him introducing him to a friend of hers who she claimed was a good fit for him, and he hadn't been in a relationship since before college. But Steve didn't think that was entering the pack's business, at least not yet. I don't like all the wolf speak, because then it says, when it came to mates. Ugh. Alan was very traditional in his beliefs. It had already caused a rift in the Harrington family when Steve came out as bisexual as a teenager. He could only imagine it would have the same effect if he got out that he'd been in a relationship with non-Lycans. If he were to tell the pack about one of the people he'd been with, he would wait until he knew it was a serious relationship. So you're saying this Robin character is more important than the pack? Lay off him, Alan. This time it was Jim Hopper who spoke. He's also a werewolf.
Jim! Oh, Hopper.
Aside from Steve's mother, Isadora, Jim was the only adult in the pack who took Steve's side over his father's, though Steve was fairly certain that had much to do with Jim's long-standing feud with Alan as it did with any sympathy he had for Steve. Long sentences. He's allowed to have some fun from time to time. He's just a kid. Steve resented being called a kid at 26, but deemed that irrelevant to this conversation, especially since in this case being seen as a kid worked in his favor. Oh, and then this is Steve's dad retorting back. It's interesting that you think you know how to parent my son better than I do when you couldn't even keep your daughter alive.
Oh my gosh.
A hush fell upon the room. He did not just go there, Steve thought.
Yes, feminist. Yes, feminist.
The incident was hard for him to talk about, even after all these years, but from what Steve could piece together based on what was said after a few times it came up, Jim had lost his daughter and his marriage had fallen apart shortly after all this had happened 4 years before Steve was born. For a while, Steve had thought Jim was bitter, but now he understood that the man had reasons to be this way. Leave Sarah out of this. Jim's tone was cold as ice when he said these words, which came out sounding more like a growl than a sentence. Maybe I should read it more like, leave Sarah. I can't go that low. Leave Sarah out of this. Leave Sarah out of this. I may have had my shortcomings the first time around, but every day I'm thankful that God or the universe or whatever's up there gave me a second chance at fatherhood when it sent 11 my way, and I've done everything I can not to screw this up. Now, I know I'm not a perfect dad by any means, but at least I accept 11 for who she is and don't try to mold her to an exact copy of me. The old men are beefing.
The old men are
At
beefing.
the Alpha Wolf monthly pack meeting.
I'm the fly on the wall going like, oh my gosh, he
God.
did not just say that.
And then, okay, so then it's a little confusing, the dialogue, but then this is Steve's dad shooting back. Those are two very different situations, Jim. Steven's some pup I found. I took in after finding him in the woods. He's the son of the alpha, and as such, he has duties to perform instead of openly defying tradition. Steve, sick of his father talking about him as though he wasn't in the room, finally spoke up. Father, with all due respect, tradition is only tradition because for generations nobody's had the guts to speak out against all the blatant misogyny of it all. Okay, slay.
Slay Steve.
Sure, this may have been the way society looked for our ancestors, but the world has changed a lot. Maybe our traditions should too. Maybe the title of alpha doesn't have to be passed down through a family. Maybe there could be some sort of election process where the other pack members decide who's most fit for the position. And who knows, maybe the alpha doesn't even have to be a male. I must have done something horrible in a past life to end up with a deviant like you for a son, Aelin replied. Steve was used to hearing some version of the sentiment from his father, so it didn't bother him much anymore. No matter, I'm gonna make an alpha of you. It was the last thing I do, whether you like it or not. That starts with you leading tonight's hunt. All right, said Steve, already formulating a plan to get out of it, and I'll be there. Next chapter. There's only 3 chapters. We might be able to get through it all.
Real. I think we should. I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this thoroughly. We can always do a part 2 if we can't get through all of the ones that you found tonight.
I think I was gonna skip through because this one's a little longer. I think if I read fast enough, I can get most of it. Because we started a little late, too, so we'll probably end at like 8:10. Mm-hmm. Steve's plan had 3 steps. The first one was the easiest, get his mom to cover for him. He'd always had a very special relationship with Isadora, so as soon as he told her about his situation and how he intended to get out of it by saying he didn't feel well, she'd agreed to go along with it. In true mom fashion, she also reminded him to use protection, to which he replied, God, Mom, get your mind out of the gutter. I haven't even met the guy yet. Jeez.
I love that she knows.
Mm-hmm.
In a weird way that warmed my heart.
It's interesting. It's this work is like feminist themes, but then the like one original female character they made is kind of like a throwaway. We don't really see much of Steve's mom.
Aww.
Which is sad.
Hopefully more in the updates.
I think
in the updates.
I don't know if there's going to be any. I think it's complete.
No.
But the next step was called in sick to work, just in case Aelin decided to check on Steve, either out of genuine concern for his son's well-being or to verify that Isadora was telling the truth, though. Let's be honest, if anything worked, it would be the latter. Steve worked at the Haven, a cafe in Hawkins, which, as the name suggested, served as a safe haven for non-human creatures. The establishment itself had several enchantments on it so that normal humans wouldn't feel compelled to enter it or notice any of the going-ons. It had been founded by Robin's parents, who were a wood elf and a human witch.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
You just got so excited. And Robin was the manager. She liked to joke that she was a Nepo baby and not even the cool kind, which made the whole calling in sick thing a whole lot easier for Steve. Since Robin was Steve's best friend, in addition to being his boss, she knew full well how contentious Steve's relationship with his father was, and this wasn't anywhere near his first time making elaborate schemes to undermine Aelin's will, so Robin fully understood the situation. Goodness, I need to breathe. There's some long sentences. Now that steps 1 and 2 had been carried out, it was time for the hardest step of all, sneaking out of the house. One would think that climbing out a bedroom window would get easier the more times one has done it, but no, each time Steve did it, he still felt the same utter panic. That was a close call, he said with relief as his feet hit the ground. Steve, you have to be the most dramatic person I've ever met, said Robin. Your room's on the ground floor. The worst thing that could have happened to you was breaking in now. Besides, why wouldn't you just use the back door? It's for the vibes, Robin. You wouldn't get it. Anyway, can you tell me more about this guy you're introducing me to? Eddie, right? Yeah, that's right, Eddie. He works at the tattoo parlor a few blocks down from the Haven.
Eddie.
You knew the one, though I doubt you've ever been there before. Definitely not. Are you kidding? My father didn't talk for me for a week after I got my ear pierced. I can only imagine what would happen if I got a tattoo. I mean, not that I'd be opposed to us not talking. That's actually an improvement. This is a real line, by the way, and I need you to brace yourself.
Okay.
But enough about my daddy issues. What's Eddie like?
I'm speechless. I am speechless. Not the daddy issues. Enough about my daddy issues, guys. Enough about my daddy
I'm gonna start saying that in normal conversation where it's absolutely not applicable.
Enough about my father.
Enough about my dad issues.
And then this is Robin responding. Oh, he's great. Very easy to talk to. He's lived a very interesting life, too. Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure he lived in France for a while before moving to Hawkins. Ooh, France, huh? That's pretty cool. I may have to ask him about that. Do you know if he's like a side eye? I added the side eye. That's not in there. Robin had a feeling he might have been, but she'd never ask him about it. The two were friendly, but she wasn't super close with him the way she was with Steve, so asking him if he was or wasn't human might have been crossing a boundary. I'm actually not sure, she said, figuring she owed Steve the truth. If I were to guess, I'd say he might be some kind of immortal being, but maybe he's just an old soul. You could ask him yourself, if you want. I just wouldn't lead with that. I definitely wasn't planning on it. I was just wondering if you knew, given that is your friend and all, what makes you think he'd be a good fit for me? The other day we were talking about relationships, and I asked him what his type was. What did you say? Steve had a feeling Rob was going to tell him either way, but he was very interested in knowing. Hold on, let me get in the right mindset for my Eddie impression. Robin cleared her throat. Well, first of all, men, before you get any ideas, she said, deepening her voice a bit and speaking what was unmistakably a transatlantic accent. Oh, I gotta change this. Jokes aside, though, my type. Easygoing, has a good sense of humor, not afraid to show emotion. But if you meant looks-wise, I'd say fluffy hair, ideally brown, but I really don't discriminate. That's the biggest thing as far as appearances go. Though it doesn't hurt if he works out, so I can go to the gym with him and just take in the view. I don't like that.
Taking the view.
Overall, though, I'm looking for someone I can have banter with. That's what's most important to me. Steve was shocked at how well he fit the description Robin had just given. He actually said all that? Yeah, I know. That's you to a T. The dude might as well have said his type was people named Steve Harrington. That's why I'm introducing you to.
Girl.
I have a really good feeling about this one. I hope your feeling is right, Robin.
Does he read feminist lit by any chance?
Does he read feminist lit? That's my favorite line.
Well, we're here, so you can ask him when we get inside. Sure enough, they'd arrived at the tattoo parlor, which Steve surmised. I keep hitting the mic with my mouth. Just a little kiss for the mic. Just a little mwah.
That's part of the reading. It's like, I keep hitting my mouth.
But,
mic with my mouth.
Sure enough, they'd arrived at the tattoo parlor, which Steve surmised was where Eddie worked. Well, I mean, yeah, Steve. When they entered the building, the only other person was a man who appeared to be about Steve and Robin's age with long brown hair and brown eyes. His hair was pulled back in a bun. He was just all black with short sleeves to show off his impressive ink. Steve immediately knew that this had to be Eddie. Ah, this must be the famous Steve, he said. This confirmed even more that the long-haired man was indeed Eddie because he sounded more or less exactly like Robin's impression. The writing on this is so weird. I still can't tell if this is like a middle schooler or ChatGPT.
It could be either.
Could be
or
either.
It could be a middle schooler using
ChatGPT. That's true. I am Steve, yeah, but I wouldn't say that I'm famous, Steve replied. Wouldn't you? Robin here speaks of you quite often. So often, in fact. I feel less like we're meeting for the first time and more like I'm seeing an old friend. Ooh, smooth.
Smooth.
So while you may not say you're famous, I would say your reputation definitely precedes you. He talks like a Bridgerton character. Am I doing the wrong accent?
I don't know.
Is he just supposed to be British? It said
British?
transatlantic, so I went, oh, transatlantic. It's World War II today in the news. I say everything upbeat so nobody gets depressed about the wartime conditions.
Oh, gosh.
Or should he just be British? Should I just do British?
He's a British lad.
I feel like British would be easier for me to maintain at any rate.
Yeah.
But anyway, he talks like a Bridgerton character was the first thing that came to Steve's mind. It wasn't a bad thing.
They watch Bridgerton in their
In
universe.
fact, Steve actually found it hot.
Oh, okay. Also same Steve.
He simply hadn't expected a 20-something-year-old tattoo artist in suburban Indiana to sound like he'd stepped out of the Regency era. Given this fact, it wasn't a wonder to Steve why Robin thought Eddie might be an old immortal. He was tempted to ask, but he knew it'd probably be a bad idea to lead with that. Thanks, I guess, he replied, unsure of whether or not what the other man had said was meant as a compliment. He'd used far too many words for Steve to tell. And you're Eddie, right? This is the third time confirming that they are, in fact, talking to Eddie. I don't know if that's necessary.
Guys, we can cut down the words here.
Okay, let me try a British accent now.
Okay, you got us.
Indeed, I am. What have you heard? Good things, I hope. I don't know what British accent that is, but it's definitely one of
That
them.
kind of slayed, Shelby.
Thank you. I do. It's the one accent I can kind of do.
Real.
I can the other accent I can do is I can do kind of a Scottish accent, but only if I'm saying Scotland forever.
Scotland
Scotland forever. And that's it. And that's not even good. You're Eddie, right? Indeed I am. What have you heard? Good things, I hope? Yep, all good things. Wonderful, said Eddie. I only hope I'm able to live up to your expectations of me. But we stood around chatting long enough. Are you going to get in the chair or what? Steve's face turned bright red.
Bright
red. I don't know if you, well, that's not to say, he stammered. Eddie took a step closer to Steve and placed a hand on his shoulder. Even through his shirt, Steve could feel the coldness of Eddie's hand.
Whoa.
Oh, come on, Steve. You needn't have any fear. I don't bite. Well, unless you want me to, but I'm afraid that's a different conversation entirely.
Oh my god. Your face is
so warm.
Oh my god.
Well,
not the hand on the
so
shoulder.
Funny.
Oh gosh. Oh my god.
We should do this more often because this is a really fun upbeat energy in the studio.
I love it. I love it.
Oh my god. A conversation.
Is it on here or is it just me?
It is actually just hot in
It
here.
is.
A conversation I have no desire to be a part of, Robin muttered under her breath, though she was fairly certain the others couldn't hear her over all the sexual tension. I forgot that was in there. Oh,
my gosh.
Hey, you know, whether it's a middle schooler or ChatGPT, there's some real good stuff. There's some.
Hey.
I think. Does he read feminist lit by any chance? But that's enough about my daddy issues. Is going to have to enter the daily lexicon.
Oh, it's gonna have to. It's giving like this whole interaction is giving like when like someone like leans in and whispers in your ear like, "It's all right, darling."
It's like,
or like something like that, and you're like, "Oh my god."
Something like in Bridgerton.
Yeah, but you're kind of like skeeved out, but at the same time you're like, "Why was that kind of fine?" Like
Steve had to pause for a moment to figure out what to say. Something about Eddie standing in such close proximity to him made it a lot harder to form complete sentences.
Whoa.
It's not
I
you.
wonder why.
I wonder why. It's not you that I'm afraid of, Eddie. I just if I'd known that this is what you had in mind for tonight, I probably would have thought it through a bit more. Plus, I snuck out of the house to be here, so me just inexplicably having a tattoo tomorrow would probably be a dead giveaway to my father that I'm not actually sick. I see. Sneaking out at your big age. I take it you have strict parents. My mom's actually pretty chill. My father, on the other hand, wish I could say the same for him. I'd rather not get into it. Fair enough. I have a complicated history with my family as well, but there aren't enough hours in the day for me to unpack it all. Eddie hadn't spoken to his family since he faked his death in the year 1860, 3 years after he was turned into a vampire.
There are still vampires alive.
One, at least. He's gonna end the blood. He ended the bloodline though.
No.
But he wasn't
He's a
about
gay
to tell
vampire.
all of that to a near stranger. I feel that, said Steve. The two chatted for a while longer, and it turned out that Eddie did in fact read feminist literature. Most notably Simone de Beauvoir's The Second Sex. He even claimed to have a signed copy of it at home, though Steve wasn't sure how he would have been able to get his hands on one of those things. The book had been written in 1949. Maybe he'd inherited it from a family member or something.
Alive then.
I'm glad you're having so much fun.
I'm having so much fun.
I think this one's definitely not the best fan fiction I've ever read, but it's pretty funny.
I think this is a really fun for my first fan fiction.
Yeah. At some point, Robin spoke up. Steve, could you give Eddie and I the room for a second, she said. To be perfectly honest, Steve had forgotten Robin was even there. Yeah, I should probably get back home soon anyway. Anyway, Eddie, it was great meeting you. Likewise, he replied. I hope to see you again in the near future. Oh, definitely. Could I get your number by any chance? It took Eddie a minute to understand what the other man was asking. Do you need my cell phone number? Yeah, do you not have a cell phone? No, I have a cell phone number. I'm afraid I don't know my number offhand, though, so do you think you could give me yours, perhaps? Sure. Eddie handed Steve his phone, an old iPhone, which looked like he had seen better days, and put his number in. Here you go. Just text me whenever. I'm usually pretty good about writing back fast. Good to know. Eddie wasn't concerned about the speed with which Steve would write him back, since he barely knew how to send text message himself. Knowing myself, I'll probably go to sleep as soon as I get back from work, but I'll text you at my earliest convenience. I look forward to that. No, Steve's not British. I look forward to that. Bye, guys. As Steve walked out the door, Robin turned to Eddie and said, so I take it you like him? Am I really that easy to read? You literally made a pass at him right in front of me. I don't bite unless you want me to. I'm no expert on socializing, but it seems like the kind of thing you say to someone you're interested in. Well, here we go. While all this was true, that wasn't the only reason Robin could tell Eddie had a thing for Steve. Being half wood elf, Robin had certain abilities that full humans did not, one of those being the ability to feel the emotions of those around her.
Oh my god.
Though it did often make Robin more prone to getting overwhelmed in social settings, in times like these, it was very useful.
I was going a way different way for that.
What? What did you think? Did you think she could read minds?
What? She's part wood elf. They were getting steamy.
What? I don't know what you're trying to say to me.
You know what they call when they got some...
Okay. I
wood?
see. Thank you.
That's what I was expecting that to go.
No, she just has psychic emotion powers.
She has psychic
She has psychic emotion powers.
Oh, Robin. Poor soul.
Oh my god. Do you think they're piping like LSD in through the vents or something? Yeah. There's like some black mold in the studio today.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Literally.
No, so she has the cool wood elf power that no other human has of understanding social cues and context and how other people are feeling.
It's not the way I thought it was going.
This is true. And yes, I do quite like him. I'm interested. I almost got Australian for a second. Yes, I do quite like him.
I do quite like him, actually.
I'm interested in seeing where this goes. Thank you again for introducing him to me, Robin. Any chance I could return the favor? Robin stared blankly at the tattoo artist. Tattoo artist. What do you mean? My roommate hasn't shut up about her ex for as long as I've known her. If I have to hear that woman's name one more time, I swear I'll lose my mind. Okay, said Robin. Where do I come in? Well, I figure if dear Chrissy met someone new, all talk of her ex would be a thing of the past. There's one caveat, though. She can't know that I'm setting her up with you. If she knew that, there's no way she'd go through it with it. It needs to happen organically. Do you want to match me with her on a dating app or something? Oh, nothing of the sort. Chrissy barely even knows what an app is. She owns a flower shop in town. So what I'm asking you to do is to go in there and woo her to the best of your ability. I have a feeling she'll be quite taken with you. Relationships are mutual. Do you think I'd like her too? I'm certain of it. I've not heard of anyone not liking Chrissy, and for good reason. She's an angel.
Eddie didn't just mean this in the figurative sense. Chrissy was a literal angel.
Like
Oh my
from the
gosh.
Bible. She had a flaming sword and everything, though Eddie made her get rid of that when they moved in together back in the 70s. Keeping it in the
That's
house had
crazy.
fire
This is some
hazard written
crazy
all
lore.
over it.
Crazy lord.
Sounds good to me. Can you give me the address of the shop? Yes, of course. I hope it goes well with her, Robin. For your sake and for mine. We're almost to the end. This one has taken up more time than I thought.
Oh, it's okay. I'm really invested. Does it end well? Or do they all
It's-
die or something?
No, I don't even know if it's finished. Summary. Eddie and
I'm
Steve
going to have to find
continue.
this account
I'll
and like
send
DM
you the
them.
link.
I have to message them and say, I need more.
43
to finish.
minutes. That was how long Eddie had spent writing and rewriting the same text message, struggling to find a perfect thing to say to open his conversation with Steve. Originally, he'd planned on just saying, "Hello, Steve. This is Eddie. Robin introduced us last night." But that didn't sound quite right. Neither did any of his subsequent attempts. Eventually, he finally had something that he deemed appropriate, but he still wanted a second opinion. Chrissy, do you have a moment? Oh, wait, he has to be British. Chrissy, do you have a moment? Chrissy looked up from the letter she was reading for what had to be at least the 100th time. The one that, this is a weird name, Elspeth, had written to her back in the 1500s. A sizable portion of their relationship consisted of them writing letters back and forth to each other as Elspeth was married. Her husband was not only aware of her involvement with Chrissy, but he had no problem with it, as he was attracted to men himself. And even after all these centuries, Chrissy still had all of their letters, which she kept in a box under a floorboard she'd miracled loose. I'm sorry, what was that? So I think the use of miracle leads me to imply they're implying like she's an angel, kind of the way that Aziraphale is from Good Omens. You know?
Okay, yeah.
So she's saying, I'm sorry, what was that? It appears I'm in need of some advice. I'm trying to figure out what to say in a text message to the person I'm interested in. Chrissy's knowledge of modern technology was minimal at best. She hardly understood how electricity worked, let alone cell phones, despite Eddie's constant urging her to get one. From what she could gather, though, a text message was a form of written correspondence facilitated by cell phones, like a letter, only it took less time for it to get to the other person. Seeing someone again, are you? Over the course of their roughly half a century as roommates, Chrissy had seen a whole succession of Eddie's relationships, ranging in length from several years to a mere few weeks. Though she'd never admit this to him, she admired his ability to move on with such ease. For one reason or another, Chrissy often found herself stuck in the past. Well, it's not official quite yet. We only just met last night. At present, we're in what I've heard people refer to as the talking stage. I'm feeling rather hopeful about the situation, though. Ah, that's nice. What's his name, if I may ask? His name is Steve, Eddie replied, feeling a lightness at the mere thought of the other man. We were introduced by a mutual friend, one of my regular customers at work. She told me
I
she
love
had a
that
friend
that
who was my
implies
type.
That Robin has lots of tattoos. I love that that's what that implies.
Oh, you're so right. I didn't catch that. See, this is why we got to do more episodes like this.
Yep.
Maybe we could do a part 2 for Radiothon, because this
Oh,
is
for
really
sure.
fun. She told me she'd had a friend who was my type, and boy, was she spot on. I'm telling you, Chrissy, I didn't know which part of his body to stare at. Whoa!
Whoa.
Next time you see the big
Whoa.
man upstairs, tell him he did a fine job with that one.
Whoa.
That's really fun. He sent a direct message to God saying, hey, that guy's hot.
Hey, just let you know that you did good. You cooked.
That's really fun.
You
I
cooked.
would, but I doubt I'm going back to headquarters anytime soon, Chrissy said matter-of-factly. You know things didn't exactly end well for me the last time I was there. When the higher-ups of heaven caught wind of Chrissy's decades-long relationship with Elspeth Cunningham Buckley,
Oh.
to say the absolute least, they weren't thrilled about it. Angels weren't supposed to befriend humans, let alone become romantically involved with them. She had almost all of her powers taken away as a result of this, but ultimately was given an arguably worse punishment, an eternity of banishment to Indiana.
To Indiana.
Chrissy didn't mind Indiana as much as she thought she would. The real punishment for falling in love with a mortal was having to spend the rest of the time missing her. Oh. That's right. Oh my god, I hit the mic again. Goodness me. Apologies. I'm afraid it's been a while since we've had that conversation. Anyway, the message. I've drafted something, but I'm not sure if it sounds quite right. Can I hear it? Hello there, Steve. It's Eddie from last night, he read. I had a wonderful time getting to know you, and would love to continue doing so. Please, write back whenever you have a moment, though of course there's no rush. Looking forward to hearing from you. Eddie. Eddie didn't exactly have a lot of experience with texting, so he wasn't sure if people usually sign texts or not, but something about it just felt right to him. What are your thoughts, Oh, he's British, sorry. What are your thoughts, Chrissy? Sounds fine to me, the angel replied with a shrug. Go ahead and send it. Meanwhile, on the other side of Hawkins, Steve was telling his mom about the events of the night before, sparing no detail. He'd always had the kind of relationship with Isadora where he could tell her anything, even the things he wasn't comfortable discussing with Aelin, and whatever he and Eddie had going on decidedly fell into that category. You seem to really like this Eddie guy, she said, once Steve was finally able to make himself stop gushing about the other man. What's not to like? He's got it all. Good looks, even better sense of humor, and accent that I'm pretty sure is British. So it is supposed to be a British accent. This person just doesn't know what a transatlantic accent is.
Yeah.
Because there's a difference between British, hello, I'm British, and then transatlantic, I'm in a black and white movie.
Yeah.
You're going to the city to make it? What are you? Well, then you'll never see the kids again. They don't give a lick about you there. There's a difference. But, anyway, Steve is saying whatever the accent is, it's super hot. Hell, he even had a signed copy of The Second Sex. Most people my age don't even know who Simone de Beauvoir is. Where did Robin find this man? Clearly, Robin knows what your type is. Isadora had never met Robin, but she felt like she knew her. Steve brought her up rather often. She was just happy that Steve had a friend his own age and didn't spend all his free time hanging out with the high school-aged children in the pack, even if they were like the siblings he never had.
Gosh.
Yeah, for sure. All I know is if father finds out I skipped the hunt to meet a guy, all hell is going to break loose. Don't worry about that right now, Steve, she assured her son. If he does find out, I'll do my best to make sure he doesn't do anything drastic. Isadora had to talk Aelin out of excommunicating Steve from the pack several times in the past. Steve insisted that he wouldn't have a problem with not being part of the pack since he didn't feel like he really belonged there. Anyway, but she insisted it was her duty as his mother to defend him. Thanks, Mom. That means a lot. Just then, Steve's phone buzzed. As he read the notification, his eyes widened.
Oh my God, you have one guess who just texted me.
Isadora said, bolt upright. Eddie? Eddie. What'd he say? If you're comfortable telling me, of course. Yeah, it's fine. I don't know if we'll have time. We'll have time to finish. I don't know how much time we'll have for the other ones. I'll just read fast. Yeah, it's fine. All he said was that he'd love to keep getting to know me and to write him back whenever I have a moment. There's no rush. He sounds like a gentleman already. I approve. Anyway, I should probably finish doing the laundry, so I'll leave you to, well, Eddie. Keep me posted on how it goes, will you? I want to know all the juicy details. Well, so much as you feel comfortable sharing. Of course, Steve said. Are you sure you don't need a hand? It had been 5 years since Isadora was first diagnosed with lupus. And though she insisted she was fine, Steve could see her enemy fading with each passing day. He admired her ability to stay positive through the same situation, as it was hard for him to do the same. I'm sure. You wouldn't want to keep Eddie waiting any longer for a message, would you? So, facts about Isadora. She's Steve's mom.
Steve's mom.
She mainly... the only thing she exists to do is to defend Steve, do
defends
laundry,
Steve,
and
do
also have
laundry.
lupus.
It has lupus.
Oh, listen, that my one criticism. You gotta, if you say feminist themes, you gotta develop her character a little more than that.
Yeah.
I want her to be the main character next.
Literally. We need her pose.
Oh, yeah. True. With that, Steve saved Eddie's number in his contacts and responded to the other man. Me, Steve Harrington. Hey, Eddie, great to hear from you. How's your day so far? I'm just gonna read these back and forth. And then Eddie, so it's like a little chat thing. Eddie, next to him, there's like the hot sweating emoji.
Oh, get it.
So, how was your day so far, Eddie? Seeing as I only woke up about an hour ago, I can't say I've had much a day to speak of. And yours? Eddie. Steve didn't question the fact that Eddie had only just started his day. He presumably worked nights. So, this made sense. I got distracted. Hold on. So, this made sense. As for the fact that he signed his text messages, that struck Steve as a bit odd, though maybe that was common wherever Eddie was from. Hold on. I have to text Scott. Because, I forgot to mention, is it okay if Scott joins us tonight?
Yes.
Cool. I'll tell him it'll probably be like maybe 10 more minutes. Like maybe a short intermission while I text a friend.
Short intermission.
10.
It's music.
Okay, we're back. Me, Steve Harrington. My day's been all right. I don't work on Saturdays, so I've just been chilling at home, very low-key. I see. What do you do for work? Robin referred to you as a coworker, but I'm afraid I'm not aware of her profession. Oh, I'm a barista. Robin's technically my boss, but we're more like coworkers, lol. I do have a side hustle, though. Lol. And what might that be? I'm curious to know. OnlyFans. JK. I mow people's lawns. I do a pretty good job of it, too, if I do say so myself. Scene. Steve hadn't been sure how the joke would go over, but if Eddie wasn't replying, clearly it hadn't landed. He pondered how to come back from it, but was promptly startled out of his thoughts by an incoming message from Eddie. Oh, I see. Please excuse the slow reply. I'm going Australian again because I keep laughing.
You're good.
Please excuse the slow reply. I had to look up what this OnlyFans thing was, but now that I know what it is, I must say I'm a bit disappointed to hear that isn't in fact your side hustle. Ew, he's got the moves.
The tea. I don't know whether to
Thanks.
be like awkward or be like, slay, get it.
Thanks, haha. I just don't know how I'd feel about putting myself out there on the internet like that. The body is a very intimate thing, you know? Also, no need to apologize for that. I'm just relieved I didn't scare you off or whatever. I wasn't sure if that was too forward. I know exactly what you mean. And you needn't worry about scaring me off. I've seen things far more forward than that in my day. Okay, good to know. Anyway, where are you from? I can't really tell from the accent. It sounds vaguely British, but like I didn't want to assume or anything. I did grow up in England, yes, but I've lived all over both Europe and the United States. It's news to me that I still have an accent, though. I thought I'd lost it after living abroad for so long. No, you definitely don't sound like anyone else I've met in Hawkins. All. What's Europe like? I've never been anywhere outside of Indiana. I wanted to study abroad in Edinburgh when I was in college, but of course my father was opposed. As Eddie read that message, his first thought was this: what's the deal with Steve's father?
What's
You
the
know-
deal?
You know when you're chatting with someone you're romantically interested in and they mention something, you're like, what's the deal with this guy's dad? You know, just casual.
Just casual. What's the
Based
deal
on
with
the
these
few
daddy
times,
issues?
based on the few times Steve had mentioned him, he sounded like a control freak.
Yeah.
Eddie was tempted to ask Steve to elaborate, but he didn't want to make him feel pressured, so he opted not to go that route. Me, Eddie Munson. Edinburgh, huh? You're my roommate. You talk. She used to live there. And to answer your question, Europe is quite nice. That's probably changed a good bit since I last lived there. It's rather dear to me, which I suppose makes sense as it's where I spent my formative years. Oh, nice. Maybe one day you can take me there. Show me all your favorite spots. Eddie doubted that any of the places he used to frequent back home existed in the way they used to. Last time he checked, his old family home in England was now a Tesco. But he understood that probably wouldn't have occurred to Steve. Rather than telling him any of that, Ellie simply humored the other man. I might just take you up on that. We'll have to see where this whole thing takes us.
Okay.
Steve. I like the sound of that, and he's got like the side-eye emoji and the smirk. For a fleeting moment, Eddie was tempted to ask Steve how he got the little pictures in the message, but he didn't get the chance to as Steve sent another text. I gotta go. Sad emoji. My father just got home from work, so I gotta pretend like I'm sick so he doesn't get suspicious, lol. You okay if I talk to you later? Yes, of course. Perchance we can even see each other in person again in the near future. Ooh, yes, I'd love to. Maybe we can go work something out in a bit, though. I for real have to go. Bye.
Bye.
Steve, why he speak like he chronically online?
It's funny because it's a mixture of he speaks chronically online, but
And
also
then-
reads feminist
Yeah.
lit. Where's the
It's
in between, guys?
Really funny. Farewell, my dear Steve, Eddie typed. His fingers hovered over the send button. Was it too early to be throwing around the D word? Probably. So he took out the my dear bit and hit send. And also that's where it ends.
No. This is devastating. I had a really good time listening to them,
Yeah, that was quite
to
funny.
their
So
little story.
the monster hunting one is so long. Maybe we just if we do want to do this for Radiothon, I think we should just have the whole episode be the monster hunting fic.
Okay.
Because it might take us like half the time to get through one chapter because it's pretty dense, but it's good. I think next I'm gonna go to this one that's just called Weed Brownie.
I like it.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I'm sorry that your first fan fiction experience is like funny ones.
No, I love
I mean, I feel like it could be worse.
Oh,
If
for
you want,
sure.
I can try to find some actually good ones that I've read and send them to you.
You're good. I'm enjoying myself.
Scrolling through the tags on AO3 is a battlefield. It's scary.
It's a scary.
Some of the things
place.
people write, I'm like, why would you do that?
Why would you do that?
Why? No. Anyway.
Oh my gosh! Wait, I have heard another fan fiction.
What?
It was one Gab read me twice, and I will warn you, it is very very visual, and I don't think you should ever read it.
What was it? For
it
what
was
fandom?
It was Gru times Shrek.
No. I've heard stuff like that because we had someone in high school who at lunch would read us funny fan fictions, and there's one that was like the Grinch X Tony the Tiger.
No.
And there's another one that was Tim and Moby from Tim and
No.
Moby. It was graphic.
I've seen Tim
And I was
Moby.
like, Regan, it's 11:30 on a Thursday. I have to go to English after this.
calm down, calm down. No.
It was. I do think it's really funny to read bad fan fictions with your friend, though. It's certainly good. Okay, so this one is just called "Weed Was Not the Way to Get the Job" by Gay Paladin Dinosaur. The summary: Mike Wheeler thinks it's a good idea to sell weed to get a job. Turns out it's not. Notes: why did I write this? Mike Wheeler brought weed to his job interview thinking it would make it easier for his future boss, he hoped, to warm up to him. Not only his weed brownies tasted delicious, people made bad decisions when it's high. Needless to say that hiring Mike would be a bad decision. Before his future boss started asking questions, Wheeler offered the brownies. I made you for these this morning. They're fresh off the oven. That was the first lie. Mike did not know how to cook. He bought those from his dealer last month and warmed it in the microwave. Thinking you can buy them with food, huh? The man joked and Mike froze. I'll take one. Now, after seeing your resume. His future boss continued to ask him stuff as he bit the brownie. 1 bite, a compliment. 2, 3, 4, 5 bites in a row. He's already getting groggy. Great. I don't think that's how weed works.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think it takes a little longer to set in.
Yeah.
What's in this cookie? Brownie, sir. Yeah, that. Just flour, eggs, chocolate, and a bit of love. You know what? I think I've seen enough. You're hired. Mike's face immediately lit up. His plan had worked. He was so happy. Thank you, sir. Excuse me, Dad? He turned his head to the beautiful boy at the door. He looked like he was his age and had shiny brown hair and a very stupid bowl cut that somehow made him even more charming.
No!
Wheeler's heart jumped a little. What? His future boss answered, taking last bite of the marijuana, spelled M-A-R-H-U-A-N-A, brownie.
Marijuana.
I think this is like a 15-year-old that's never been high writing this.
Literally.
I hate to interrupt, and this is Will talking. I hate to interrupt, but he started stopping when he was smelling a funny scent. What is that smell? You can't smell weed brownie.
No, you cannot smell.
Yeah,
any
okay.
edibles.
Huh? You smell like
I mean,
he
some
sniffed.
smell weird, I think,
Yeah.
from what, like, I've, like, seen people do, but I don't...
It's not going to be like smoking where you just get hit with it.
No. It's like if you, like, shove your nose in a bag of something. Then you're like, yeah, it's going to smell a little off.
Yeah. You smell like he sniffed the air, trying to guess what it was. His face formed a frown when he recognized it. Weed. He stopped and looked at the black-haired boy in front of him. Did you give him weed? Well, shoot. What? No, of course not. That brownie, it was a marijuana brownie, wasn't it? He couldn't say anything. It was over. I'm calling the police. But he was already dialing the number 911. Mike was so screwed. The cute boy just kept staring at him angrily, really tried hard not to blush. He was literally going to jail, but he was just so attractive. This is what we call in the business a crackfic, by the way. Fanfictions that are specifically written to be stupid and silly. I have one I'm writing where it's the plot. It's my favorite podcast called Midnight Burger, and it's just them encountering like actual Dracula from the book.
That'd be great.
From Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Slay.
And he comes up and he knocks on the door of the diner because the diner travels through space and time. And he keeps asking to be let in, and they spend so long bickering over what he is, what should they do, should they let him in or not. The sun rises, and by the time they actually open the door, he's just turned into ash. And they're like, well, I guess that's it. It's called Midnight Burger versus Dracula. It's in script format. I need to write more of it.
And it's like they finally decide what to do, and and then he's like, it's too late.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, we're almost done with this one. The police didn't take long to arrive, and after the bowl cut prince told them what happened, and they checked the crumbs of weed brownie that were on his father's desk, Mike was handcuffed and arrested for drugging someone to make them do something that they wouldn't do in their right state of mind. Also, they found the pot he kept in his pocket. So, yay. He couldn't believe the sexy anime-haired guy had reported him. He wished he could see him again, and maybe make out with him if he wanted to, of course. So Mike was dragged to jail, sighing, wondering if that was where his life was going to end.
That's crazy. Insane.
Actually insane.
I don't know how I feel about that one.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I think that's funny. I think it's funny that they incorporated Will in not knowing Mike, and then Mike's just sitting here admiring this person, doesn't even care what's going to happen with his life, really. And then he's like, well.
Oh, no, I didn't put the link for the monster hunting one in, I think. No, it's got to be here. Hold on. Again. I mean, yeah.
No, I think that's really funny, though. I think. Yeah.
Hold on.
That is very funny.
Oh, shoot. It's in here somewhere. I think I just messed up my organization. Let me see if I can find it.
That's
I
okay.
could start to read the What We Do in the Shadows one, unless you'd like to wrap up a little early. Well, actually, let's discuss the ones we've read.
Yeah.
I think you liked the first one better.
I loved the first one.
I didn't like the first one that much when I was reading it. But I definitely think it's one of those ones that's fun to read out loud with your friends. Yeah. If I was reading that on my own time, I don't think it would quite make the cut as far as my superbly high standards for reading goes.
See, I will say, like I said when we started, I really like those really cheesy vertical movies, and this was like that vibe. Especially there's so many ones that are like alphas and betas and all this stuff.
Camp.
It is just so cheesy. It's so cheesy. It's so bizarre, and you just get secondhand embarrassment, but also somewhat literally get invested. Whenever I get those ads like on Snapchat or TikTok, I always sit and end up watching the entire thing, and then right when they're about to do this big reveal, they cut and if you want to watch the whole thing, you should download this. And I get so mad because I'm not going to invest money in that.
Oh, absolutely.
Even though I kind of want to, but I know I can't.
Yeah, if you ever invest money with that, I'm putting your phone in a lockbox.
You should.
And I'm sitting you outside in a field to detox.
They're so bizarre. They're really crazy ones where it's oh, this whole time this girl's been in a long-standing relationship with her boyfriend, and she was going to propose, and she put him through college, but he doesn't realize that she's actually the richest person in the world, and then he dumps her to get this job promotion and thinks that gets rid of her, and then she ends up pulling all the money away from him.
Ted Nivison video.
Yeah, and
I think it really gets it down to a formula. There was another one where it was he posted another one that was pretty recent that was about the secret agent guy. We can watch it tonight if you want.
Yes. I haven't. I saw one where it was the secret agent guy, and then he does a fake marriage with this one guy. I keep seeing that one. Ooh. I don't know. I think they're so funny, and that's what that was
it's
given.
It's such a wide world. And it is always some case of mistaken identity. It's always something like that. It's always ridiculous, and it's always really, really stupid.
I just get overly invested in them because it's just so cheesy and funny, and then I just have a fun time. I like when people don't take themselves as seriously sometimes. Like that's just like, why would you take life so seriously?
Well,
and,
that's
like,
why I like a lot of like the 80s horror movies and stuff. I like, they're not the
Yeah.
best. They're kind of campy, silly, goofy, but they're
funny.
entertaining. Yeah,
It's enjoyable.
They silly. They get silly goosey with it.
They do, and
But-
they accept that.
Yeah, I think anyway, that's the vibe of the first one. I think definitely there's some bits of the writing that could use some work, but I like the premise.
Yeah.
I think the premise is kind of fun.
See,
I
would,
don't know why it was randomly thrown in that Steve's mom has lupus though. That's
yeah, I don't know. Maybe
confusing.
that'll come back. Maybe they'll develop her character more if they continue writing. Which you
If-
said, it's kind of a new
This
one,
is true.
so we better be
if
looking
they do
out.
develop her character more, I hope it's not she gets sick and has to go to the hospital. So I'm like, guys, don't do the sick mom.
Kill the
trope.
dad instead. Like, come on.
Exactly.
we don't
that's
need his
what
character
I'm
here.
saying.
Get him out of here. Steve's the
That's what I'm
alpha, and then
saying.
basically with his power, then changes it and makes it a
With
democracy.
the power of feminist literature and his degree in women's
Yes.
studies. Yes.
Him and his little vampire boyfriend are gonna rule the world together
his
in
British,
a positive way.
His British / European / French / transatlantic accented vampire boyfriend.
Crazy.
I just, gosh, British does make so much more sense. But it said transatlantic, and I rolled with it. Hello, my name is Eddie. No, that's not. I don't know what accent that was. It wasn't transatlantic.
Hello there. My name is Eddie, and I can't do it.
Hello there, my name is Eddie. I work at the tattoo parlor.
I work at the tattoo parlor.
I work 47 hours at Hamburger Man every day to buy one American rock and roll disc. I'm a true American. Beat back those communists.
Yes.
That's my transatlantic.
If you want to get
impression.
some money and advice on how to get your your werewolf boyfriend to fall in love.
Now you sound like an
come on
auctioneer.
down.
One vampire boyfriend, one vampire boyfriend, what's more impressive? 350. That's got to be some beautiful audio right
yeah.
there. I'm going to have to listen to this back just so I can hear that.
Oh
Ooh,
gosh.
beautiful. Well, I think that's a good note to wrap up for
Yeah.
today. I think this episode's going to be a little shorter because, again, we had our little technical difficulties. Whoopsies.
Technical
Technical
difficulties.
difficulties. Whoopsies.
But yeah, take care of yourselves out there.
Yeah, take care, everyone.
Take
This-
that little mental health PSA
Precisely.
that we did at the beginning.
Mhm.
Take that. Take a break if you need. Listen to something silly. Read some silly fanfics.
Oh, yes.
Do whatever you got to do.
Oh, yes.
Take care of yourselves.
Precisely. All right. Well, this has been Peculiar Happenings. This has been our lovely fan fiction episode. I'm Shelby,
And I'm Lee.
and stay weird.
Yeah.